Kiss, kiss for love.
That's right. We're covering an anime classic in today's video with a complete recap of Ouran High School Host Club. If you somehow missed one of the best romantic comedies of anime's early 2000s, then you'll have no idea how our MC went from this to this.
Low-life snitch, you ratted me out.
So, boys and girls, fluff your pillows, make some coffee, and settle in as we delve into the misunderstandings, drama, and juicy declarations that culminate in a love story to remember. Let's kiss kiss and fall in love indeed. The first episode, starting today you are a host, jumps right into the action as we join Haruhi Fujioka, our main character, as he navigates the maze of Ouran Academy. Still adjusting to his new school, he searches high and low for a proper place to study, only to find 4 libraries overpopulated and hosting social hours for his peers. Soon enough, he stumbles upon Music Room 3, but, much like the rest of the school, it's occupied by a group of 6 boys who call themselves the Host Club. Now, Haruhi is looking kinda unkempt with his baggy clothes and old eyeglasses, but the Host Club doesn't discriminate, because as you'll soon learn, these guys may act like clowns, but they are pretty professional when it comes to entertaining their guests. Oh yeah, before we dive deeper into the story, I should probably tell you what host clubs are, in case you didn't know already. So basically, host clubs are these lavish party establishments in Japan, where good-looking men host paying ladies, entertaining them with conversations, good food, amazing drinks, and just the right amount of flirting. It's all about helping the ladies unwind and forget their stress for a while. Sounds pretty damn good if you ask me. Anyway, back to the story. The president of the host club, Tamaki Suo, jumps in to flirt with Haruhi, believing he's there as a guest.
We welcome you, poor man, to our world of beauty!
I'm out of here.
Surprised by the affection, Haruhi stumbles into a nearby vase, shattering it on the floor. Now this priceless Renaissance vase apparently costs 8 million yen. That's a debt only a few people could pay out of pocket. And if you did not notice already by his unkempt look, Haruhi is definitely not one of those people. So, to pay back for what he broke, Haruhi's drafted into the host club as their errand boy. Classic! The host club conducts most of its business after school hours, and we immediately see the gap between Haruhi and his fellow hosts soon enough. It all begins when the boys task Haruhi with getting some coffee for the host club. Haruhi does get coffee, but not the rich people kind, the instant kind. This shocks them to their core. Talk about pretentious, am I right? Anyway, the coffee scene is when we officially meet the other hosts. There are the twins, Hikaru and Kaoru Hitachiin, who perform an act of forbidden love between themselves. Ew. Then there's Mitsukuni Hani Haninozuka and Takashi Mori Morinozuka. These two are rarely far from one another. There's also Kyoya Otari, the club's stern and vigilant vice president. As Honey plays into his role as the youngest member of the club, bringing Haruhi his beloved stuffed rabbit called Usa-chan, he can't help but find his love for this soft toy suspicious. Kyoya interrupts them, explaining that each member of the host club utilizes their unique characteristics to cater to their guests' fantasies. Tamaki claims Haruhi will need a makeover if he wants to work with them. Of course, Haruhi has no interest in the host club and doesn't see the point of it either. But ever the dramatic, Tamaki explains that beauty like his, and those of his fellow hosts, should be shared with the world. The rest of the club jumps into action to help Haruhi's fashion transformation, except for Honey, who's too darn cute for any kind of labor. Once Tamaki sees Haruhi dressed in the male uniform, he insists that he become a fully fledged host under his guidance.
If you can get 100 customers to request your service, we will completely forget about your 8 million yen debt.
100 requests from guests clears his debt? Talk about a steal! And wouldn't you know it, the club's diamond in the rough is already a natural when it comes to relating to women.
Why is he so popular?
He's a natural.
No training needed.
Tamaki introduces Haruhi to his regular guest Seika. All the attention on Haruhi makes Seika jealous, and she throws his school bag out the window into the fountain below. As Haruhi goes to retrieve his bag, he runs into Seika again, who says Tamaki will always see him as a second-class citizen. As Haruhi searches through the fountain for his belongings, Tamaki arrives to criticize him for leaving the club early, but when he finds out his wallet contains his grocery money, he rolls up his pants and helps him look. Oh, it seems like the posh prince is more down-to-earth than he looks. When they return to the host club, Seika requests Haruhi, only for Haruhi to call her out for being jealous. Seika flips the table, trying to make it seem like Haruhi assaulted her, but the other hosts step in, pointing out that she's the one who threw Haruhi's belongings into the fountain. Tamaki bans her from the club, but all the commotion causes Haruhi's required requests to increase from 100 to a whopping 1,000. Ah, bummer. As Haruhi changes into a dry uniform, Tamaki enters with towels. That's when Tamaki sees his fellow host in trousers and a camisole top, realizing alongside his fellow hosts, Haruhi isn't a boy. She's a girl! What the what? With Kyoya knowing from the beginning, since he's smarter than the rest of these bozos, the truth is finally out. As Haruhi leaves the dressing room in her female uniform, Tamaki's beet red face says it all.
Now, I could be wrong, but I think we may be witnessing the beginnings of love here.
Yep, that's what I thought. The job of a high school host starts with Haruhi running late for a host club meeting. When she shows up in Music Room 3, she's surprised to find it transformed into a tropical paradise, with her fellow hosts embracing the cosplay of the day, Balinese royalty. Kyoya explains that although Tamaki makes policy decisions, he's the one who's really in charge since it's so easy to manipulate our sweet boy Tamaki. Hearing that, Haruhi dubs Kyoya the Shadow King, and it kinda suits him. Speaking of policies, Tamaki announces that they'll host a dance the following week, and Haruhi's guests fantasize about spending the evening with her. A regular named Kaneko dumps Tamaki to name Haruhi her new favorite host. It seems the protege has already become the master. Or not. Kaneko has what they like to call the host-hopping disease, where she can't settle on a favorite. Of course, Tamaki doesn't like the competition, but his pouting doesn't get him very far. Hikaru asks if Haruhi knows how to dance, but Haruhi isn't interested in attending the party. So, Tamaki blackmails her into learning the waltz by threatening to demote her back to errand boy otherwise. Jeez. The next day, Haruhi receives dance lessons from Kaneko.
Thank you so much for allowing me to practice with you. I really appreciate it.
As they drink tea afterward, Kaneko compliments the tea set, and Kyoya notes her keen eye for fine china. It reminds him of another student named Toru, who will inherit his family's trading company, a top importer of china and tableware. Knowing Kyoya, he probably wants him to supply the host club's next event. But unfortunately, Toru is gonna leave at the end of the month to study abroad. Haruhi notes that Kaneko must be close with Toru, but Kaneko denies it a little too hard and makes a hasty exit. Luckily, Honey has the gossip on this. He reveals that the pair are engaged, with Kyoya adding that it's been that way since their childhoods. Talk about complicated. Tamaki, ever the romantic, decides it's the host club's job to get the estranged couple back together. Oh no. When the dance party begins a week later, Tamaki welcomes the guests with charm and bravado, before Kyoya announces that at the end of the night, one woman will be named Queen and earn themselves a kiss on the cheek from Tamaki. On the sidelines, the twins tease the disinterested Haruhi, who never had much interest in parties growing up. Kyoya forgives her lack of experience and excuses her to the food table, and when she asks if there's otoro, Tamaki immediately orders it for her. Sweet! If you've never heard of otoro before, it's just a fancy word for fancy tuna, often taken from the meatiest cut and served as sushi. It seems like Haruhi has some superior tastes after all for a commoner. Also, can we take a moment to note how odd it is that he's not taking requests for his other friends? Anyway, Kaneko arrives at the party and Haruhi's swept away as part of Tamaki's master plan to get fitted for her girl disguise. And of course, as soon as Tamaki sees her in this feminine light, he is love-struck.
So, what do you think?
Wow, you look so cute!
After all that, sweet, oblivious Haruhi wobbles away to meet with Toru. She finds him in a darkened classroom, where he shows her a love note she supposedly wrote. While he's flattered, he admits his heart belongs to someone else, and he's going abroad to better himself and become worthy of their love. Right on cue, Tamaki somehow maneuvers Kanako into the room, and after seeing Toru alone with another girl, she runs away in tears. Toru chases after her, and they're caught in the spotlight of Ouran's gardens. Tamaki announces that the last waltz of the evening is reserved for these two lovebirds. As they dance, Toru declares his love and proposes to Kanako, who accepts.
I love you, Kanako. I've always loved you. And I want you to be my wife.
Damn! Could it get more romantic than that? Hikaru announces Kanako as the queen of the ball, who will receive a kiss from Haruhi as a stand-in for Tamaki. Haruhi tries to refuse, until Kyoya offers to cut her debt by a third. When Honey questions if this might be Haruhi's first kiss, Tamaki panics and attempts to stop the sweet display, only to slip on a banana peel. Yeah, a freaking banana peel, and push Haruhi into kissing Kanako on the lips. The episode then ends with Haruhi gaining a deeper understanding of the club's #1 rule: a host must do everything in his power to make every girl happy. Kinda wholesome. Beware the Physical Exam is the third episode and everyone's worst nightmare. Before we head to the gym though, we have to join the host club for an outdoor tea party. The afternoon's activities are in full swing, with each host using their unique skills to ensure their guests have a good time. Although Haruhi tries to enjoy a quiet moment to herself, she's interrupted by her fellow hosts, with the twins asking which electives she plans to take the following semester. They suggest matching their courses, as they're in the same class as her, and Tamaki, like always, can't help but sulk in jealousy as an upperclassman. Adding salt to this wound, Kyoya enlightens Tamaki with a graph, explaining that, compared to the twins, Tamaki only takes up 3% of Haruhi's day. Poor guy. He's never experienced so much rejection in his life. In a fit of jealousy, Tamaki demands Haruhi dress like a girl again, but the twins point out that it's only a matter of time before their secret is out, because of the upcoming physical exams. The next day, we catch Tamaki in the middle of an alluring daydream where he and Haruhi spin in circles, very much in love. Honey and Hikaru interrupt his daydreaming, but Tamaki goes on a fourth wall-breaking tangent about how he and Haruhi must be the romantic love interests, and the other hosts are the homosexual supporting cast.
You boys are the homosexual supporting cast. So please make sure that you don't step across this line.
You've gotta be kidding.
No, I'm not even kidding. This is seriously one of the most quoted lines from this show. When Honey points out that the female-presenting Haruhi will gain many admirers, and Kyoya reveals that she received love letters quite often in middle school, Tamaki launches a freaking operation to conceal Haruhi's gender from everyone other than the host club.
Don't you worry, Haruhi. We're determined to keep your secret. No one will find out that you're really a girl during tomorrow's physical exams!
As the physical exams arrive, Kyoya admits that there's no real point to them because most students can afford private doctors. Annoyed by her fellow students, Haruhi tries to ignore the rich kids around her. As she leaves, Kyoya bumps into one of the doctors. Haruhi can't catch a break. As the other hosts pull her behind a curtain, Tamaki promises to protect her. But his idea of protecting is to dress up like Haruhi and take the exam for her. The plan fails, duh, and Kyoya comes to the rescue. He pulls Haruhi to the side and admits to having made an appointment for a doctor to perform her exam in secret. A student calls for help after being attacked by the doctor Kyoya met earlier. When the hosts realize he's headed straight for Haruhi, they jump into action to stop him in his tracks. They demand to know what this man's business at Ouran is because it's clearly not the physical exam, and he introduces himself as Dr. Yabu, the owner of an emergency clinic in the next town. He came to Ouran searching for his daughter, who he lost in a recent divorce. Apparently, his wife had enough of him treating patients without having them pay their debts first, as his generosity made them poor. Haruhi suggests that his daughter might have enrolled in the nearby public school, as she wouldn't have the means to attend Ouran. The hosts then find Yabu a map of the area and send him away.
Even if he does manage to find his daughter, there's no guarantee she'll want to speak to him.
I'm surprised by their insightfulness too, Haruhi. Is there something more behind their Richie-rich attitudes? Whatever it is, it's enough to convince Haruhi to keep working with the host club, even if these boys get her into impossible situations. The host club gets a brand new member in Attack of the Lady Manager. The episode opens with Renge Hushakuji playing a popular dating sim called Ukidoki Memorial. Relatably, she sits alone in her darkened room, surrounded by merchandise from the game, especially for the character Miyabi, who she's kinda obsessed with. If you can't tell already, Miyabi looks exactly like our Shadow King Kyoya, which can't be good, I'm assuming. When Renge later talks with her father Reynard about his upcoming business trip, he shows her a photo of his business partner with his 3 sons, and surprise surprise, she immediately spots Kyoya in this lineup. Seeing that her dream boy actually exists in real life, Renge wastes no time in heading to Ouran to chase after him. As we return to the host club, their cosplay for the day is a traditional kimono. Tamaki admires the beauty of their guests, and the twins reveal that their mother is a famous fashion designer. Haruhi's guests compliment her kimono, stating she almost looks like a girl. Yeah, right. Only for Kyoya to slide in and remind her that although he's not charging interest, there is a rental fee on the kimono he's using her guests for the day to pay for. While he might seem like a scheming tax collector, without Kyoya, the host club would be broke beyond the moon. Honey does a bit where he loses his shoe only for Mori to return it, to the appeasement of their audience. Haruhi notes that tears are an essential weapon for the hosts, but wonders how boys make themselves cry on command. But when she bumps into Kaoru, a bottle of eye drops falls from his sleeve. The twins insist that no woman alive can resist a man on the brink of tears before offering Haruhi a sweet treat. However, she says that she's not fond of sweets, but it will still make a good offering for her mother's shrine. Listening to that, Tamaki's ever the lovesick puppy.
How admirable of you! Such devotion to your mother's memory!
Seriously, how has Haruhi not caught on yet? She even believes his tears are fake. Soon enough, Haruhi notices Renge spying on them from the doorway, and when the twins jump right into flirting, they're scolded by Tamaki, who reminds them to be more courteous to first-time guests. But Renge reads through his perfect host act and shoves him aside while spitting insults at him, until poor Tamaki is nothing more than a sad heap on the floor. Sheesh! Kyoya recognizes her, but can't get a word in before Renge flings herself onto him, claiming him as her Prince Charming. Wow, she's fast, huh? Renge realizes that Kyoya's nothing like the soft-hearted Miyabi, but when she learns he's the host club's director, she appoints herself as the club's manager. Kyoya allows this because their families already do business together, and he can't really ruin that by upsetting Renge. Tamaki approves Renge as their manager, believing she'll make Haruhi more feminine, but that doesn't win him any favors with the host club's newest member. The next day, Renge arrives with homemade cookies for Kyoya. But when Honey points out how burnt they are, he and Mori face Renge's wrath. Haruhi's a trooper and a considerate host, so she tries one, believing they're good. The twins try one too. The same one, stealing a bite from Haruhi's cookie because making Tamaki mad is their favorite way to pass the time. Seeing that, Tamaki freaks out, all while Renge jumps into manager mode, telling the hosts that they all need to have dark sides to keep their guests interested. Everyone but Kyoya, cause he's perfect. Honey becomes the baby-faced thug. Mori becomes the flunking student. The twins are now neurotic sports stars. Haruhi's the bullied honor student. At least that one's not much of a stretch. And Tamaki's the lonely prince. The following day, we find the twins on the basketball court, where Kaoru gets injured. Tamaki stands alone in the rain. All the while, Honey and Mori approach Haruhi with the menacing looks on their faces, but Honey breaks down, insisting he can't be mean to Haruhi. Renge calls out to cut, as she's creating a film about the new and improvised host club with help from a real Hollywood director. God damn, these Ouran kids are something else. Renge then calls for Haruhi to play through her scene with 2 other students she cast as Yakuza members. When Renge grabs the arm of one student to direct him, he pushes her into a nearby ladder, which nearly falls on her. Fortunately, Haruhi comes to her rescue.
You don't even know me!
Watch out!
Tamaki arrives on the scene and almost gets into a real fight with the extras after seeing Haruhi with tears in her eyes. But as it turns out, girl just lost one of her contacts. Renge loves the raw emotion happening and wants to use it in the final cut, but Kyoya smashes the camera lens, stating he can't condone the host club acting violently. Tamaki reminds Renge that her video game fantasies aren't reality, while Haruhi encourages her to get to know people little by little. A few days later, Renge's film surfaces anyway, and the host club's regulars can't help talking about it. Kyoya usurped the film to make a profit from it anyway, only for Renge to switch her crush from Kyoya to Haruhi. It sounds like trouble's brewing in the Hitachin household in the 5th episode, appropriately titled The Twins Fight. We open with a flashback sequence of Hikaru and Kaoru sitting side by side in Ouran Academy's elementary playground. They're approached by a little girl who wants to build a snowman with them, but the twins ask her to guess which twin is which. We then cut back to the present day, where the twins ask their guests the same question. As they're identical and wearing matching uniforms, no one can tell them apart, except for Haruhi, who believes it's the dumbest game she's ever heard of. She also criticizes their brotherly love act, but the twins believe having 2 loves is better than 1. Their stance on love gets a reaction out of their guests, and they're obviously putting on a show. Tamaki enters center stage to complain about the club's website because the twins have posted an edited picture of Haruhi, making it look like she never misses a day at the gym. Just admit that you're swooning alongside the club's guests too, Tamaki.
Just what do you guys take me for anyway?
Then, the group is interrupted by the shady president of the Black Magic Club, Umehitu Nekozawa. Nekozawa invites the twins to his club where they can buy occult objects from around the world, and we learn he hides in the shadows because the guy's scared of light. Tamaki genuinely believes that Nekozawa is capable of cursing others due to a series of mishaps the previous year. But he seems less than harmless when the twins scare him off by shining a flashlight in his face. The invitation to the Black Magic Club doesn't interest them much, but the twins do want to visit Haruhi's home, and Tamaki's quick to jump on that bandwagon. When she refuses, the twins have her play their Who is Who game, with a trip to her home being the punishment if she loses. To everyone's surprise, Haruhi correctly tells the twins apart because their personalities are different. Specifically, Hikaru is more mischievous, and when he takes offense to this, Kaoru teases his brother for having a crush on Haruhi. Don't worry, I'm sure Tamaki's fine.
Why would I fall for her? I mean, she looks like a tanuki.
How dare you call her a raccoon dog? You're gonna pay for that!
Uh-oh. Is that a love triangle I see? Renge has the same idea, as she appears to comment on the romantic drama. Let us not forget she also laid claim to Haruhi in the last episode. The twins' argument goes a bit too far. Things escalate and they suddenly claim that they're over. I guess that's a wrap for the host club's brotherly love act. Not like I was a fan of it or anything. The next day, the twins show up with dyed hair. Hikaru's pink and Kaoru's blue, and yeah, their fight's still on as they continue to argue throughout the school day. Their fellow hosts can only sit back and watch, including Haruhi, who eats lunch in the dining hall to watch the drama unfold. Hikaru sits behind Haruhi and trades lunches with her. Tamaki tries to trade with him to get Haruhi's homemade lunch, because of course he does, but Kaoru slides in while they're distracted to feed Haruhi off his fork. Jeez, does Haruhi use the lady version of Axe Spray or something? The fighting continues and the rest of the hosts meet without the twins to discuss an intervention. Honey also mentions that the twins have never fought before. Hard to believe, right? The twins arrive still saying nasty things to each other, and Kaoru pulls out a cursed doll from Nekozawa. He plans to hex Hikaru forever as Tamaki watches in horror. Fortunately, one person in their group has a working brain cell, and Haruhi puts an end to this madness once and for all.
So then what you're saying, Haruhi, is that if we make up, we can come over to your place?
What? It was an act all along? Oh, move over, Haruhi. The world's their stage, and I'm about to break a leg. The next day, everything's back to normal in Music Room 3, with the twins playing their Who's Who game. Yet, even with their new hair colors, their guests continue to guess wrong. Haruhi interjects, assuring everyone that the twins switched their hair colors, which shocks both of them. Privately, Kaoru admits to his brother that there had only been 2 types of people in their world, them and everyone else.
But for the first time, Someone's crossed into our world.
However, Haruhi has now crossed that divide, joining their side of the world. With episode 6, we're moving right along into the grade school host is the naughty type. Right in the beginning, we meet an Ouran elementary student named Shido who's running late for the classical music club. But guess what? Shido thinks he's too cool for school, so he ditches music to find the host club instead, where he finds our gang in the middle of their daily cosplay session. Decked out like they're in the middle of the Arabian Nights, the hosts welcome Shido like a regular guest until they realize he's just a kid. A kid who has big dreams of becoming Tamaki's apprentice. He definitely came to the right person because Shiro needs a crash course in everything that's necessary to make a woman happy. Seriously, look at how bad he ruins Tamaki's charm.
You look more like the carp that swim in my pond at home. I'd never give false compliments like that. Carp!
Of course, Tamaki finds Shido annoying after this, but the twins think he's adorable. Kaoru even goes so far as to ask Hikaru if he wished for a little brother like Shido, but Shido's off-put by their token brotherly love act. Shido's also got a grudge against the club's perfect guy, Honey, for making cool friends like Mori despite being so young. Tactless, blunt, and bad with social cues, Shido asks Haruhi if she's a crossdresser, immediately clocking her true gender. This lil dude is a bit too much. In their attempt to distract Shido, our gang gives him a tea tray to serve guests, only for him to drop it on the floor.
Haruhi, that's another 100,000 yen.
By this point, Tamaki has had enough and locks Shido in a cage until he decides to get serious about becoming a host. Shido clutches at the bars, begging Tamaki to share his genius and teach him before it's too late. Flattery works on Tamaki, duh, and their lessons begin at once, with Tamaki going through the types of hosts the club already has, only for Renge to teach them about the naughty boy type. Renge enters manager mode, transforming Shido into his new persona by giving him cosmetic bruises, encouraging reckless behavior, and giving him a catchphrase.
No big deal. It was nothing.
But Shido bluntly says that he doesn't care about women, he only wants to impress a single girl. As if they can't get enough of bad ideas, the host club infiltrates the elementary school, with Tamaki forcing Honey and Haruhi to wear the younger year outfits.
Haruhi looks like a little doll.
So basically, you just wanted to see her dressed up like that.
They find Shido in his music room, listening to his classmate Hina play the piano. Shido's definitely got a crush, but Hina's leaving for Germany by the end of the week. What's with these rich kids constantly going to other countries? Anyway, Tamaki throws Shido over his shoulder once he leaves class, taking him back to Music Room 3 for that much-needed intervention. Tamaki criticizes Shido for not telling them the truth before advising him to tell Hina how he feels about her. There's some heavy irony coming from the Prince of Pining. But anyway, Shido regrets not being able to hear Hina play again since she's leaving soon. So, to cheer him up, Tamaki promises to work with Shido for the next week so he and Hina can have a performance for the host club. When the time comes for the grand performance, Haruhi points out that Shido, like Tamaki, loves with all of his heart. Oh? Might Tamaki's unrequited love be returned after all? Unfortunately though, just 10 days later, Shido disappoints all of us by saying that although he emails Hina regularly, she's acting a bit possessive, so he's not that into her anymore. Jeez, kids these days, I tell ya! The next one is called Jungle Pool SOS. The episode opens with Haruhi appearing in a dreamy tropical oasis. Kyoya reveals that the Otori group built a tropical theme park to diversify their interests, and the host club received an advanced invitation ahead of the park's opening. The twins hand Haruhi over to their maids to get her paradise ready, but she strikes in a modest suit that still makes Tamaki's devoted heart go crazy cuckoo. Seriously, who knew a series about a high school host club would give us one of the best slow burns in history? The host club plans for a day of fun in the sun. Honey floats in the pool, Renge cosplays as an anime character, and the twins take every opportunity to tease Tamaki about his obvious overprotectiveness and jealousy toward Haruhi. They even manage to manipulate Tamaki into a water gun fight by threatening to marry Haruhi. Jeez, these dudes are obsessed! Prepared to defend himself and Haruhi until his gun runs dry, Tamaki pulls an ultimate move, leaping sideways to target the twins. but he slips on another banana peel and slams into a totem pole instead. This epic blunder triggers something in the control room that sends a tidal wave to whisk Honey away. The group jumps into action to save their friend, but they're stopped by roaming alligators. Damn! Fortunately, Kyoya gathered test data on the park before its opening day and has maps for his fellow hosts that help them navigate this Jumanji-level death trap. A sudden tropical storm from overhead forces the group to take cover in a nearby hut, where Haruhi learns that Honey and Mori are cousins with a family history spanning generations. Haruhi confronts Mori, who pats her on the head. How sweet!
Don't tell me Mori-senpai's out for my spot as Haruhi's daddy!
Nobody wants that spot but you, boss.
Of course, Tamaki still goes crazy with jealousy, but his meltdown's short-lived as Kyoya calls in outside help. Once the rain stops, Mori tries to head off alone, but Haruhi insists that she wants to tag along as well. On their way, the many bugs and wildlife in the park start to freak Haruhi out, so Mori does the chivalrous thing, picking her up and carrying her in his arms. Aww. It's a good thing Tamaki isn't here to see this. Soon enough, we then get introduced to the Black Onion Squad, the Otori's private police force, which is a totally normal thing for filthy rich people, by the way. The police believe Haruhi is the missing Honey and that Mori's a kidnapper. They aim guns at the pair, only for the real Honey to appear, who takes down the police squad single-handedly.
You guys should be more careful who you mess with.
What the what? This Lolita boy sure has some explaining to do. The rest of the host club catches up, and they're not surprised by Honey's kick-ass moves. In fact, they're more surprised that the police force is still alive. As it turns out, Honey's family is known for their mastery of martial arts, with Honey becoming a national champion in karate and judo at a young age. Mori is also a national champion in kendo. Anyway, so the police force begs for forgiveness for their mistake, and Haruhi's stunned by this new side of Honey. As the host club clears out of the theme park, the twins suggest going to the beach. Although Tamaki initially disagrees, he gets real excited the moment Haruhi says it's a good idea. This next one is called The Sun, the Sea, and the Host Club. And I kinda hope this episode didn't exist, but more on that later. The club travels to the Otori family's private beach for a vacation, but thanks to Kyoya inviting some of their regular guests, it's all on deck for the host club. While Haruhi has to play into her host act while on the trip, she still manages to make time for fun, like searching for seashells with honey, which are placed along the shore by the Black Onion Squad, all because they feel embarrassed after their mistake at the theme park. Meanwhile, the twins make up a competition where they try to discover Haruhi's deepest fear. They convince Tamaki to play along by claiming that close friends know one another's fears, and Kyoya sweetens the deal by offering up a photo of Haruhi in middle school as the prize.
We wanna play too!
I guess that means we're all competing.
They try supernatural creatures, bugs, claustrophobia, and the dark, but nothing works. Later on, Haruhi and Honey search for shellfish below a cliff when a group of girls appear on the cliff top. They ask for Haruhi to join them, but they're interrupted by two men who start harassing them. Haruhi rushes up the cliff to break up the conflict, only to be thrown into the sea below. Tamaki and the twins arrive at the sound of trouble, and Tamaki doesn't waste time coming to Haruhi's rescue. What a powerful scene. It parallels what Mori did for Haruhi in the last episode, but looking at them both, it's kinda obvious that only one of these boys has the hots for Haruhi. Of course, Tamaki scolds her for acting recklessly once they're back on land, but Haruhi defends herself. She claims she did the right thing. At dinner, Haruhi lets the argument go to have her fill of shellfish, but Tamaki's still skulking, even rudely commenting that she shouldn't eat so much, and to that, she reminds him that he shouldn't speak to her directly, since he hasn't apologized yet for her mistake. You go, girl! Tamaki leaves the dinner early with Kyoya. The other hosts beg Haruhi to understand how her heroics made them worried, and, well, she starts to feel guilty and nauseous, so her friends take her to the nearest bathroom. When Haruhi returns to her room, she finds Kyoya waiting for her. He claims that her actions cost the host club and that she should pay off her debts with her body. And then, the dude literally climbs on top of her. What the what? I wish I was kidding. Jesus. Anyway, back to the horrible scene. Kyoya calls Haruhi out for her immaturity and powerlessness in the situation, but Haruhi's got a serious poker face and knows that Kyoya's only playing the villain to prove a point.
You won't do it, Kyoya-senpai. I know.
Kyoya lets her up, but of course, Tamaki chooses the worst time to walk in. But Kyoya dismisses his friend's anger, calling him a goofball. Tamaki refuses to believe that nothing happened between Haruhi and Kyoya. Jeez, Tamaki. But Haruhi can't fight back because a thunderstorm has her running for cover. Ah, so that's her fear. Haruhi hides in her wardrobe, where she admits that she's always dealt with difficult things like fears alone. And that's when Tamaki realizes that her jump into action kind of behavior comes from the lifetime of independence. He opens the wardrobe with the next thunderclap, and Haruhi jumps into his arms.
You don't have to be afraid. I'll always be here for you, Haruhi. I promise that you'll never be alone again.
The twins start to wonder if Haruhi's safe with Tamaki, but Kyoya trusts him, of course. One of the more popular episodes from Ouran High School Host Club is A Challenge from Lobellia Girls Academy. The episode starts with Haruhi learning about Ouran's upcoming culture exposition, where neighboring schools come to perform music or class dramas. The twins approach her while criticizing Renge for not knowing what instant coffee is. Jeez. They then send Haruhi to get more for the club. As she leaves, two guests from the host club thank her for helping the twins come out of their shells. How sweet! Except it's immediately followed by this bizarre exchange. I have questions. Do you have questions? I guess we all have questions. Back in room 3, the two new girls arrive to find hosts cosplaying as medieval knights. They bully the club with negative comments, but Tamaki remains welcoming until the girl from before arrives with Haruhi, while declaring her undying love for her. Tamaki tries to shoo her away, but an uppercut sends our boy falling backward in tears. Kyoya, however, quickly recognizes that these girls are from the Lobellia Girls Academy. The girls change into flashy costumes of their own before announcing themselves as the leader of their academy's Zuka Club. Their known names are Benibara, Suzuran, and Hinegiku. Renge arrives to explain that the Zuka Club is a group of women who believe that they're superior to men. Benibara doesn't appreciate the way Tamaki uses Haruhi, and the trio promises to destroy the host club.
We can't allow this maiden to stay here. We'll prepare her paperwork and have her transferred to Lobellia at once.
While the rest of the host club tries to calm things down, Tamaki makes the tension between Ouran and Lobellia worse by attacking them, and he lost. Benibara and the others want Haruhi to transfer to Lobellia Academy. She says no, of course. We then also get to know more information about the host club, such as Tamaki's shared French and Japanese heritage, that the club lacks history, and that our boys here auction their own belongings to raise funds. When Haruhi learned that the boys auctioned her mechanical pencil too, that too without her permission, she gets angry and leaves. Tamaki panics and thinks that because of their entitled mistake, Haruhi might actually join the Lobellia Academy, so he devises a plan to keep Haruhi at Ouran. The next day, Benibara and her club members arrive at Ouran to take Haruhi. However, they're in for a shock when they find the hosts cosplaying as girls to show Haruhi that if she stays with them, she can have sisters and brothers.
This is too much! I don't even get what you're trying to do! I knew you were a bunch of goofballs, but jeez!
These dudes are absolutely insane. Their execution is questionable, but they've got the spirit at least. Haruhi appreciates their efforts and turns down Benibara's offer, stating that she came to Ouran to study and never planned to leave. Not to worry though, this won't be the last time we hear from the Zuka Club. We finally get a look into Haruhi's home life in A Day in the Life of the Fujioka Family. The episode opens with the host club in front of a poor-looking house, and our boys are horrified by Haruhi's situation. They watch her eat what she believes is fancy tuna, but Tamaki knows it's just regular fish in a can. Tamaki then wakes up in a cold sweat, because of course it was just a nightmare. Wait, so he's dreaming about Haruhi now? Cool, I guess. After that, Tamaki, being Tamaki, overreacts and rushes to the school in his uniform top, pajama bottoms, and fuzzy slippers. The chief of staff, Shima, stops him before he can make a fool of himself. Also, it's actually Sunday, and there's no school. Jeez, Tamaki, calm down sometimes, would ya? Meanwhile, Haruhi's enjoying her weekend and returning home from the supermarket. Naturally, her day is ruined when she finds luxury cars parked outside her apartment. Oh no, the Richie Rich boys are here.
Don't say anything that might offend Haruhi or her father and cause them to ask us to leave.
Well, it's too late for that. Go away!
Tamaki blames the twins for following them to Haruhi's place. Yeah, he didn't invite them. Honey, meanwhile, offers sweet pastries to Haruhi, so Haruhi invites all of them in for tea. The large group squeezes into her small living room, and Haruhi's patience is further tested by the stupid comments fired by Tamaki and the twins. Kyoya offers to buy lunch, but Honey suggests that Haruhi make lunch for them instead. Yummy! As the group prepares to go to the market to buy ingredients, Tamaki stops to pay respects to Kotoko Fujioka, Haruhi's late mother. Haruhi tells Tamaki that her mom was a lawyer in life, and they then share a private moment where they empathize with one another, since Tamaki also lost his mother at a young age. As Tamaki moves to place a consoling hand on Haruhi's shoulder, he slips and stumbles onto Haruhi. Naturally, this is the moment when her father, Ryoji Ranka Fujioka, chooses to enter the screen. It's not his profession as a crossdresser that shocked me, but the way he throws Tamaki into the nearest wall with the strength of the Incredible Hulk.
I'm sorry. I hated having to leave you alone last night. You must have been lonely.
That sound, he hit really hard.
He then asks for a cup of tea, while Tamaki fails to convince him that he's not a pervert. Ranka soon realizes that his guests are none other than the host club and compliments them, telling them to call him by his stage name. When the boys ask if he's heard about the club from Haruhi, he reveals that he and Kyoya have exchanged phone calls for months. Months! Now we know where Kyoya got that middle school photo of Haruhi. Jeez! Of course, Haruhi fumes about this secret communication and goes shopping alone. Left alone with the host club, Ranka tells them of Haruhi's lifelong independence. Even as a little girl, she refused to tell him about Parent-Teacher Day, so he could use his time off to rest. Aw, she's such a sweetie cutie patootie. Ranka then convinces the boys to follow Haruhi through the supermarket. However, since Daddy Dearest still views Tamaki as a threat,
From this day forward, you're my enemy!
he pushes him into the open, where Haruhi spots him. Fortunately though, Tamaki covers his tracks by using the exact words Ranka once spoke to Haruhi long ago. When Ranka overhears that, he realizes that Haruhi is growing up. Aww. As the group returns to the Fujioka home for lunch, Ranka makes sure to serve Tamaki extra chrysanthemum, the part of the stew that he hates. We're returning to Ouran Academy in Big Brother is a Prince. The episode starts with a little girl named Kirimi exploring the campus. For some reason, she thinks her missing brother might be on campus, so she ends up in our favorite music room. She finds the host club pretending to be police officers. Nice! Now, if only she could find some real police officers. Hello? We've got a lost child over here. While most children might mistake the hosts for real officers, Kirimi calls them out for being a reverse harem. Yikes, this kid has seen some things. Luckily, she latches onto Tamaki before getting more upset. Kirimi assumes Tamaki must be her older brother because of their matching hair, and Tamaki, the big ol' softie, can't help but play along.
I give in. As of this moment, I am your new big brother. You're so cute.
Haruhi might say Tamaki's being irresponsible, but come on, everyone loves a man who's good with kids. Kyoya, the only one with working brain cells, says they should find out if Kirimi's real brother attends Ouran. Then, black doors materialize as if by magic, only for a blonde-haired, blue-eyed student to call for Kirimi. The mysterious boy is then joined by his maid Kuretake and secretary Karomatsu, who dress him in his usual cloak and black wig. Yeah, you guessed it. Kirimi's missing brother is the Prince of Darkness Nekozawa. Like most children, Kirimi is scared of the dark, so she refuses to accept that this black magic-loving weirdo is her brother. Nekozawa has a portrait back home that shows him as a blonde-haired, blue-eyed prince, so the unconvinced Kirimi refuses to leave the hosts, forcing her brother and staff to leave her behind. Tamaki and Renge want to help Nekozawa accept the light, so they force him into an abandoned classroom for some exposure therapy.
How many times do I have to tell you? You're not allowed to use
use any occult terms!
I'm really sorry.
At first, Nekozawa practices prepared lines to a doll of Karimi, while Tamaki tells him to speak from the heart. Okay, dude, but it's weird to give advice that you can't follow yourself. Nekozawa agrees with me as he encourages the twins to create a Haruhi mannequin so Tamaki can confess all of his complicated feelings. Of course, Haruhi walks in as he's passionately hugging the mannequin, and of course, Haruhi thinks Tamaki's up to no good. Then, Karimi follows Haruhi into the dark classroom, which totally freaks her out. Nekozawa tries to help by shining a flashlight in his face, but it just makes him look like he belongs in a Halloween store instead, so Karimi books it for the exit. As the twins look out the window for her, they see that she stops in the courtyard because of a cat. Ironically, Nekozawa knows how much she fears cats and jumps through the window to save her.
Nekozawa-senpai!
But he's not wearing his black cloak!
While he might have broken a few bones, his daring rescue helps Karimi recognize him as the big brother she always wanted. Aww. Days after the cat incident, Nekozawa returns to Music Room 3 in his usual cloak. Although the hosts believe they wasted their time, we get to see Karimi crossing paths with her brother in their family mansion. Instead of running away, she runs toward him. I'm sure she's glad to have a big brother who will protect her. We get to see a new side of everyone's favorite host in Honey's 3 Bitter Days. The episode starts with Tamaki yelling at the twins for spilling tea on Usa-chan. Well, we all know how important this bunny is, but the twins blame Haruhi, saying it wouldn't have happened if they wore their suggestive bunny cosplay. I'm sorry? The what? The host club sure gets a little crazy after hours. Haruhi suggests that they wake Honey from his nap and apologize. But to the other hosts, that's like welcoming death with open arms. Sorry, Haruhi, but I'm with them. Did you forget what Honey did to the Black Onion Squad? There's a rumor going around that has the other hosts totally freaked out. Allegedly, Honey once took down 2 platoons of Green Berets when his family visited a US military base.
And I've heard we've had diplomatic issues with America ever since that day.
How terrifying!
Not to mention, Honey's late grandmother is the one who made Usa-chan, making it one of a kind. You've gotta be kidding me! Tamaki and the twins scream like they're victims in a horror movie as Honey wakes up, with Tamaki even telling Haruhi his blood type. These boys are about to be cooked and they know it, so they start coming up with crazy plans. My favorite's taking the twins' private jet to the top of a mountain where they can summon the spirit of Honey's grandmother to make a new Usa-chan. Genius stuff! Their more logical plan, however, is to sacrifice Kuma-chan, Tamaki's stuffed bear, and hope for the best. Yeah, so that didn't go well. It's a good thing Kuma-chan's just a teddy bear.
That's my teddy bear! He's gonna come after us next!
Mori saves the day by telling Honey that Usa-chan wanted to try their tea, which Honey totally buys. Later on, Honey entertains some guests, telling them how much he loves chocolate, Usa-chan, and all of them too. Renge narrates Honey's host tactics like she's watching a sporting event, and Honey's at the top of his game. Of course, Haruhi butts in to warn Honey about his sweet tooth, but Honey says he always brushes his teeth, so there's nothing to worry about, right? Wrong! The moment Honey shows off a single sign of pain, the other boys jump him. They hold him down like a wild animal to pry his mouth open, only to find a serious cavity. Well, I can't say I'm surprised. I think Honey's lived purely off cake and instant coffee since the first episode. Since Honey can't have sweets until the cavity's gone, Tamaki decides the host club will also eat healthy to show their support. Way to show actual leadership skills, Tamaki. I'm kinda proud of you on this. Unfortunately, Honey thinks his life is over and does anything he can to smuggle some sweets. As the days pass, you can see the light leave his eyes, as Mori looms over his shoulder at all times. Haruhi even overhears a guest confessing her love to Mori, but he's so worried about Honey that he can't even respond. Soon enough, our sweet Honey turns sour by the 3rd day. He's losing it, guys. Not only does he need to throw poor Kuma-chan for a 2nd time, but he actually bites Tamaki. Somebody get this kid a Snickers. He is not himself when he's hungry. Anyway, Mori steps in to stop this madness, but Honey freaks out. He attacks Mori, claiming to hate him and then runs away.
You're so mean! You're such a hardhead! That's it, I hate you! I hate you, Takashi!
My heart just broke a little. As Tamaki chases after Honey, Haruhi realizes Mori's only strict with Honey as a form of self-punishment. Mori feels guilty for not reminding Honey to brush his teeth, and when Tamaki appears with Honey, who overhears everything, they forgive each other with a hug. Aww. A few days later, with Honey's teeth problems getting a little bit better, Mori lifts the ban on sweets and Honey returns to his cheerful self. We're going on a one-shot adventure in this episode called Haruhi in Wonderland. Yeah, you heard me right. This is definitely a fanfiction level AU, but we do get some information about Haruhi's enrollment into Ouran along the way. The episode begins with Haruhi, still a middle schooler, visiting Ouran with Ranka. Ranka admits that she completed her Ouran application alone and planned to attend the interview alone too. Yikes! There's that lifelong independence she told Tamaki about during their beach vacation. Across the room, Haruhi sits in front of a painting depicting a woman and a young girl. When the dean suggests she explore the grounds, the painting immediately changes to show the little girl chasing Usa-chan. As Haruhi explores, she finds Usa-chan dancing into the music room 3, which is totally not weird, and follows the bunny down a hole. On the other side, she lands in an Ouran salon and gets stuck in that damn vase. Nearby, Shido pops out of the grand piano looking like a mouse. He shrinks in size by eating a banana when Haruhi calls for help.
I've got myself kind of stuck in this thing. If you wouldn't mind giving me a hand, I'd really appreciate it. Hey, where are you going?
And disappears through tiny doors at the other end of the room. Haruhi eats a banana to follow him, naturally. Beyond the doors, she falls down another hole and lands in a pool of water. She should really watch where she's going. I get why the boys follow her around like a security detail. Haruhi gains consciousness to find Kyoya as a caterpillar by the poolside. He tells Haruhi that the pool's filled with tears and it isn't safe. Thanks, Kyoya. You've never been creepier. Nekozawa and Karimi show up for mushrooms, which get added to their tab with Kyoya. Although Haruhi wants to know what he's been writing in his notebook, she gets distracted by Nekozawa turning into a literal baby, who she chases all the way to Renge. We then see Renge playing the Duchess in this adventure, and Hikaru the Cheshire Cat. Renge takes the baby and questions if Haruhi's really worried about him. Haruhi says that the baby should be with his mom because that's what's best for him. Ow. This episode may be a psychedelic trip, but Ouran still knows how to pull on the heartstrings. Renge gives Haruhi her baby and leaves. Hikaru says Renge is pulling one over on Haruhi, as the doll doesn't even belong to her. Haruhi looks down to find the baby turned into a cursed doll. Okay, is this a dream or a nightmare? Of course, Hikaru disappears too, forcing Haruhi to continue alone. As she travels, Hikaru disappears and reappears as if in two places at once. She soon calls him out for being two people, surprising Hikaru and also Kaoru. When Haruhi finds Ouran's dining hall, she interrupts the Mad Hatter Tamaki, the Dormouse Mori, and the March Hare Honey.
She's kinda cute.
Yes, she is.
Tamaki comments on her hair, reminding her it needs to be shorter in the future. Weird. As Honey dives into a cart full of sweets, Haruhi warns him about cavities, prompting Mori to wake up long enough to remind Honey to brush his teeth. Haruhi makes sure she's still at Ouran, and Tamaki questions what she'll do there. Although she only wants to study, Tamaki reminds her to take some time to enjoy herself too. Unfortunately, their conversations cut short when Usa-chan announces Renge's upcoming execution. Huh? Alright, Renge does have a habit of making the wrong people mad, but not to worry. Haruhi's on the case. In the library, a masked king and queen judge Renge for attending the Royal Music Festival by invitation, even though doing so meant leaving her child alone. Haruhi defends a mother's right to provide for her family, but it goes on deaf ears, as the king freaking changes the topic and accuses Haruhi of breaking the host club's vase. We then get a glimpse of the future, of that fateful day when Haruhi joins the host club. As Tamaki approaches the witness stand, he thinks Haruhi's approach to student life is a waste and a total bore. In her frustration, Haruhi ends up calling him Tamaki instead of the Mad Hatter, causing the room to glow bright. Tamaki now wants to know how she knows his name, how she knew about the twins, Kyoya's notebook, and Honey's cavity. The mask comes off and we find out that Ranka was the king all along, and he believes Haruhi made wonderful friends at Ouran. None of us care about that though. We're all here for the queen, who tells Haruhi to enjoy herself.
I'm sorry. I made it so hard for you. And so, now is the time to make up for that, Haruhi. Don't be afraid to enjoy yourself, alright?
I'm not crying. You're crying. We then cut back to reality and find Haruhi asleep at Ouran Academy. Tears stream down her cheeks as she calls out for her mom one last time. When she wakes up, she finds her fellow hosts cosplaying Alice in Wonderland. We're expanding our horizons in covering the famous host club, as the episode introduces the newspaper club president, Akira. Tragically, this so-called newspaper club has only managed to sell 2 papers, bought by the reporters on his staff, Chikage Ukiyo and Tomochika Sakio. Akira knows that most people in their position would pack it up and call it quits, especially when the newspapers don't hold a candle to the host club's photo books. Of course, we know the host club is always hard at work to make their paying customers happy, which is why we cut to them dressed up in the outdoor gardens while playing games with their guests. Haruhi skips out on the fun to enjoy some well-deserved peace and quiet, until Tamaki runs into her while trying to catch a ball. Akira and his reporters come to terms with involving the hosts in their newspaper, but only to save their club. They get their chance when Tamaki kicks the ball through the newspaper club's window, nailing Akira in the face. Talk about fate! Tamaki rushes to the newspaper club to apologize, and Akira milks it for all it's worth, asking the host club to be in their next edition. Tamaki loves attention, no surprises on that, so he agrees. But the other hosts refuse because they know the school paper has nothing but gossip. Akira plays up his head injury and complains about the newspaper's doom, and Tamaki's big heart lands him in hot water as he agrees to help the newspaper club, even as the other hosts walk out. He returns to the music room, where he brings out the puppy eyes to get what he wants. Kyoya's not working with the Ouran's resident gossips without precautions though. So, he meets with Akira to give the host club's terms and conditions before having a crossover, and leaves a first aid kit with Akira as a sign of good faith. We then get a tense exchange between them as they use their knowledge of one another's families to exchange subtle threats.
So, being president of the newspaper club is your way of preparing to take over the family company?
The other reporters still feel nervous about working with the host club, but Akira threatens them and their families if they don't help. Jeez! Apparently, he believes Tamaki uses his father's influence and authority to control the other members. Wait, so this dude thinks that Tamaki is an evil mastermind? I can see why the newspaper club has one foot in the grave. The following day, the newspaper club joins the host club as they play commoner games outside. Akira tells Haruhi that he can help her escape Tamaki if she reveals his dark side, but of course she has nothing worth sharing. Tamaki then pulls Haruhi away from the group to hide under a table, where they talk in private about their childhoods. Tamaki reveals that his mother was frail when he was young, so he never made friends his age, which makes games like Kick the Can enjoyable now that he's older. Aww. We then cut to an Ouran corridor, where Akira tells his reporters that he's going to write a fictitious story about Tamaki to ruin his reputation. Fortunately, when he enters the music room, he's confronted by the other hosts, who warn him not to publish this fake news. Kyouya pulls a disc out from the bottom of the first aid kit, revealing the recording device he bugged the newspaper club with.
What do you think we should do about this little disc?
Checkmate, pal. Soon enough, the hosts catch up with Tamaki and Haruhi, telling them that the newspaper club will leave them be for now. As they return to the music room, Haruhi asks Kyoya if the Suo family does have as much influence as Akira claims. Kyoya reveals that the Suo family has many business ventures, including the management of Ouran Academy, which means Haruhi received her scholarship to the school because of Tamaki's family. Wait! This is an insane plot twist! Next episode is The Refreshing Battle in Karuizawa. The episode opens with a cell phone ringing off the hook in the Hitachian twins' bedroom. Of course, Tamaki is the only person who would call them at the crack of dawn. He pulls his fellow hosts into a frantic conference call because Haruhi has gone AWOL. He assumes she's been kidnapped, but Kyoya knows she's preoccupied in the beautiful resort town of Karuizawa. She's working there without pay for a family friend called Misuzu. As Haruhi hangs the laundry, she notices the host club arrive by helicopter. Yeah, a freaking helicopter.
Haruhi! Despair not! Daddy's come to save you!
Making a good first impression with Misuzu. The boys want to know why Haruhi chose to work when they invited her on a summer holiday. That's a good question, actually. I wouldn't turn down a free vacation in a 5-star resort either. Of course, Haruhi wanted to feel like a normal civilian again, but apparently Ouran bans its students from having jobs. Of course, the host club needs to stay close to their emotional support Haruhi, but there's a problem. The resort only has one empty room. Oh no! The twins suggest a competition to impress Misuzu. Whoever wins can have the room. Misuzu's not gonna turn down more free workers, so the hosts try manual labor for the first time, probably. Kyoya's family owns a cottage nearby, so he doesn't need to compete, leaving him and Haruhi to place bets on the chaos. Kyoya believes the twins will win, but Tamaki's not gonna go down without a fight. He changes direction to perform for the resort's guests, with his piano skills putting him in the lead. The twins nearly give up, but a flower pot falls from a second-story window, and Kaoru pushes Haruhi out of danger.
I'm so sorry. Are you two all right?
Don't worry, we're okay, right?
Yeah.
Hikaru jumps in to help Kaoru in an instant, convincing Misuzu to name them the winners of the contest. Still, things take a turn next morning. With the twins in a bad mood after sharing a bed all night, at breakfast they start making demands like they own the place. So Tamaki reminds them to mind their manners. Apparently, he spent the entire morning with Misuzu and gained a new appreciation for the resort. Good for him! That's when a delivery boy from Arai Produce interrupts their breakfast. Haruhi accepts the delivery and, surprise, surprise, she knows the deliverer. It looks like the twins and Tamaki might spend their summer competing with one of Haruhi's old flames. We jump right back where we left off in Operation Haruhi and Hikaru's first date. Yeah, you heard me right. Haruhi and Hikaru. Hikaru beat Tamaki to the punch, but before we figure out more about this date business, we've got to learn about this mysterious stranger from Haruhi's past. Arai and Haruhi catch up, and a jealous Hikaru flames Arai for having an obvious crush on Haruhi. Arai admits that he did have feelings for Haruhi when they attended middle school together, and we get a flashback of Haruhi telling Arai her plans to attend Ouran Academy. Although Arai tries to admit his feelings in that moment, Haruhi misses the subtle cues. What else is new? Hearing that, Haruhi apologizes, and Arai admits that he always thought Haruhi was someone special. It sounds to me like those middle school feelings aren't a thing of the past after all. But anyway, the other hosts join in to discuss Haruhi's time in middle school, all while Hikaru continues to criticize Arai, earning a slap from Haruhi.
I'm not gonna tolerate you insulting my friends anymore, you got that?
Hikaru then storms off with a fresh bruise to the face and to his ego. Kaoru tries to get some information out of Hikaru, but he only finds out that his brother likes Haruhi. Knowing that Hikaru has a wicked temper, Kaoru tries to help his brother out by rejoining the others, where he pretends to be Hikaru. He gives Arai a formal apology, but Haruhi knows that he's conning them. Still, Kaoru's not done scheming yet. He makes plans to spend the next day with Haruhi, but then pulls the classic "I've got a cold" the morning of. He convinces Hikaru to take his place, kickstarting Hikaru and Haruhi's date. Hikaru is rude the entire time, but Haruhi doesn't mind, eventually purchasing a get-well gift for Kaoru to help ease Hikaru's worries. Her kindness breaks the ice, and it's smooth sailing from there. At least everything's going great until Haruhi hears thunder in the distance. With the storm on the way, the couple bumps into Arai. He offers to give them a lift back to the resort, and Haruhi accepts. Hikaru throws a jealous tantrum and runs away, forcing Haruhi to go looking for him. Later, Arai calls the resort to check on them, but of course, they never showed. Tamaki calls Hikaru and rips him a new one for leaving Haruhi, revealing her fear of thunder. That's it, my man Tamaki, proving you're made for Haruhi one outburst at a time.
You idiot! I want you to turn around and start looking for Haruhi right now! What kind of jerk would leave a girl out in a thunderstorm like this by herself?
Hikaru then launches into a frantic search for Haruhi, finding her in tears beneath the altar of a church. He sits with her as the storm passes and lends her his headphones. Haruhi surprises Hikaru when she forgives him for his recent behavior, but he realizes that people have the capability of loving all sides of him, good or bad. The next day, Arai shows up with a fresh watermelon for everyone to share. Although Hikaru doesn't apologize, he accepts the watermelon. Kyoya wonders if Kaoru's plan might have led to a real romance, but Kaoru thinks it's too soon for his brother to be honest about his feelings. At least he and Tamaki have that in common. It's time to finally learn more about the host club's Shadow King in Kyoya's Reluctant Day Out. The episode begins with a shot of Kyoya's father, Yoshio Otori. In a family of brilliant men, Kyoya has to work hard if he wants to outsmart his brothers and impress his father. Of course, Kyoya doesn't have time to think about his family when he wakes up in a shopping mall. Half out of it, he barely remembers the other hosts breaking into his room while talking about a commoner's expo. You see, Kyoya's not a morning person, and they chose to face his fury to drag him to the Izumi shopping center. Apparently, this needed to be a group activity, but the others immediately ruin it by forgetting Kyoya on a freaking bench.
Tamaki's a dead man when I get my hands on him.
Kyoya-senpai?
That's when fate brings Kyoya and Haruhi together. Without the rest of the club, they decide to spend time together, but Kyoya keeps Haruhi at a distance. Haruhi doesn't mind his grouchy attitude and asks how someone like him could become best friends with Tamaki, to which Kyoya's answer is simple. They're all trying to gain something, even Tamaki. That's totally not the most ominous thing I've heard from this show. Kyoya decides to look around the mall before going home, and we get to learn more about Kyoya's childhood and society's expectations of him. The youngest of several brothers, he didn't stand a chance of inheriting the family business, so he gave himself a chance by doing everything in his power to outmaneuver his brothers. It's a work in progress, he's still in high school after all. Kyoya then gets distracted by a con artist selling fake pieces, so he makes a break for his display to call him out for selling fakes. The authorities take the con artist away, and Haruhi teases Kyoya for doing something kind just because. Of course, Kyoya pretends it was a money move that would help him down the road. Oh yeah, the rest of the gang's here too. They're having the time of their life, eating ice cream, riding carousels, and watching a back-to-school show with Renge as the leading lady. She wrote the host club into the show, and it reminds Honey that they left Kyoya behind. Kyoya, meanwhile, returned to his original bench with Haruhi. She wants to know more about Tamaki's willingness to help people, but Kyoya won't give anything away. In the end, she decides he and Tamaki aren't so different after all. Overhead, an announcement is made to the shoppers.
A little boy named Kyoya Otori is lost inside the store.
Kyoya's furious, but he soon finds his friends with a golden retriever named Antoinette. Just so you know, these boys put off finding Kyoya so Tamaki could buy this dog. Not that I blame them. Kyoya might not think so, but he has more in common with this dog than he'll care to admit. It must be hard work, acting like he has that black cat type energy. Now, the last few episodes have been fun, but we're back to business in Chika's Down with Honey declaration. Right at the start, we see Honey's little brother at the door of Music Room 3. Their family doesn't do hugs, they do trial by combat. So the moment that these two cross paths, they're duking it out where everyone can see. Renge appears to give a play-by-play of the fight, which Honey wins thanks to some sleight of hand.
In the heat of battle, Honey-senpai was able to attack with his shuriken before Chika noticed!
Alongside Haruhi, we learn that their family has a unique type of martial arts that they practice by fighting whenever they cross paths. Wild! But the heart of the technique, self-restraint, is something Honey lacks. It's also why Chika refuses to recognize Honey as the future head of their family. Honey's sad to see his brother go, but Tamaki cheers him up with a piece of cake. Haruhi questions Honey's choice to join the host club over the more respectable karate club. and the ever-nosy twins share his business, explaining that he was the captain of the karate club as a first-year Ouran student. We then see a flashback of him following his father's instructions, including throwing away everything he loved to adopt a more masculine identity. Fortunately, Tamaki approaches him for the host club and encourages him to challenge his father's views, claiming that true strength comes from being yourself. Damn! That should be the host club's motto! Honey fights his father over their different opinions and puts him in the hospital. Banned from doing martial arts in public again, Honey leaves the karate club behind. Honey's parents also start to raise Chika with more rules, ruining their relationship as time goes on. But obviously, Tamaki wants to reunite them.
Time for Operation Honey-no-Zuka Brothers Reconciliation!
Hooray! I knew he was gonna say that.
They begin by watching Chika through his dojo window, where he's the acting president of the karate club. He has fangirls and loyal club members, but still falls short of his brother's legacy. Chika then leaves the dojo to find the host club outside, where another fight with his brother begins. He bullies Honey for his childish behavior and love of sweets, revealing that they used to get along before someone convinced him to be his true self. The word he uses is brainwashed, which is so damn harsh. The twins out Tamaki for his involvement, of course, making their president fear for his safety. To regain some control, Mori suggests that they do a one-on-one battle to overcome their differences. The next thing we know, the gang is in an open field with Mori acting as a referee. Mori reveals how Chika always copies his brother's moves from the previous fight, and predicts Honey will let his brother win.
Mitsukune's planning to throw the fight and let Yasuchika beat him. Trust me, I know everything there is to know about him.
But he's disappointed when Honey doesn't hold back and puts Chika in his place. After his victory, Honey declares his plan to have a midnight cake fest 3 times a week. Oh, that sounds like such a good plan. Ooh, I'd love to be a +1 to these tri-weekly cake fests. Benibara finally gets the chance for revenge in Lobellia Girls Academy Strikes Back. Yeah, I bet you weren't expecting to see these ladies make a comeback. The host club starts their day by visiting Haruhi, but when Ranka opens the door in casual clothes, they think they've got the wrong apartment. Ranka drags them inside and ruins their day by revealing Haruhi's plans to hang out with the girls from Lobellia Academy. I don't understand why she would want to, but the episode shows us Haruhi's POV anyway, where she's dragged through hordes of Benibara's fans. Once they make it to their club room, Haruhi changes into their school uniform, making Benibara melt on the spot. But while that happens, the host club works Ranka into a frenzy, convincing him that Haruhi might experience peer pressure to do something scandalous.
I know I'm flat as a board, but if you'll please just take pity on me.
That's even worse!
So, do they try to call Haruhi and reach out and talk to her? No! Obviously, they're going undercover to infiltrate the all-girl school. Haruhi is fighting off the Lobellia girls left and right, but Benibara brought her to Lobellia for a reason. It's Pink Carnation Day, an event marked by a major stage show performed by their club. Unfortunately, one of their players was injured and couldn't perform. Although Haruhi insists otherwise, Benibara's touching story about making her late mother proud convinces her to participate in the performance. I think this is what they call emotional blackmail? As they prepare for the show, the host club and Ranka skulk about outside Lobellia's campus. Kyoya's not convinced that Haruhi will fall for Lobellia's charms, but Ranka reveals that her mother was once a member of the school. They watch through a window as Haruhi practices, and she's terrible.
My Lord Frederick!
She sounds like a robot.
And our heroes pretend to be in Benibara's fan club to get inside. As the curtain rises for the main event, the host club waits to rescue Haruhi mid-show, but when they realize how much fun she's having, they decide to hold off on their rescue mission, which leaves Tamaki to overhear several audience members discussing the upcoming kiss scene as Benibara recites a line about revenge on stage. Bam! A spotlight shines on the host club, and Benibara tries to steal a kiss from Haruhi, but Tamaki won't let this stand. He jumps onto the stage and tells Haruhi to jump off her platform, which is several feet in the air. Kyoya, who somehow charmed his way into the control booth, projects the image of Haruhi kissing Kanako at their dance party onto the stage. Haruhi makes the jump, and she sticks the landing. The situation could not be worse, with Ranka furious, Benibara and her club on edge, and Haruhi hightailing it out of the theater, only for everyone to slip on plot-convenient banana peels. You know how the last episode ended on a cliffhanger? Forget all that, I'm sure everyone's fine. The door the twins opened takes us into the past, giving us the juicy details on how Hikaru and Kaoru became hosts in the first place. Kaoru explains that he and Hikaru remain inseparable because no one can tell them apart, almost forcing them to share a single identity. Throughout their childhoods, they ask their classmates to guess who is who, but each failure makes them less individualistic. It gets even worse when a girl asks Kaoru out but agrees to date Hikaru instead, proving that she doesn't care about their personalities. If you thought Hikaru was bad to Arai, then you should see him in middle school. He and Kaoru bully this girl to tears. Luckily, Tamaki watches from the sidelines and comforts her once the twins leave. I think I'm gonna take a full-time membership to the Tamaki fan club after this. Kaoru then goes on to tell us a story about a childhood maid they loved, who goes on to rob their family. Initially, the twins promise to give her the passcode to the family safe if she can win their guessing game. But she gives up and steals the code from their piggy bank.
You know, it's possible that no one will ever be able to tell which one's which.
That maid, the only person we ever liked, dropped that bomb on us and then disappeared into the night.
Yeah, I can see why they have trust issues. To no one's surprise, the twins give Tamaki a hard time when he met them in middle school too. He invites them to join the future host club, and they agree to join if he wins their guessing game. Over the next month, Tamaki tries and fails to tell the twins apart. He still refuses to give up though, even though the twins bully him for being born out of wedlock. What the what? Anyway, Tamaki doesn't have to endure their cruelty for much longer, because he eventually picks right. His willingness to accept them as they are, including their faults, inspires the twins. Tamaki also tells them that to find someone who can recognize them for who they are, they should be more open to others. And the twins take this first step when they join the host club, where they start the next chapter of their lives. Until the Day It Becomes a Pumpkin is, you guessed it, a Halloween-themed episode. We're back at Ouran Academy, assumedly after the host club makes their daring escape from Lobellia Academy. The episode begins with a voiceover from Kaoru as an antique carriage passes beneath a full moon. He warns us that the carriage will turn back into a pumpkin at midnight, even without a fairy godmother to cast a spell on it. At Ouran, we find Kaoru daydreaming about the carriage as his class representatives Soga and Momoka discuss the event they'll hold following the fall exams. Renge jumps in first, suggesting a test of courage tournament in time for Halloween. Soga's nervousness has him suggesting teams, which everyone agrees to. The twins decide that the loser of the tournament should have their name and picture put out on the front page of the newspaper, and although Soga tries to get Haruhi to protest the idea, her obliviousness holds out and the class votes in favor. Yikes. In the music room, the host club cosplay as vampires to entertain their guests, only for Haruhi and the twins to arrive late and out of costume.
You're not going to take part in this, are you? For decency's sake, tell me you won't!
Calm down, senpai. It's just some harmless fun.
They'll be absent for the next week as they prepare for their class event. Tamaki hates the idea of Haruhi spending alone time with the twins in a scary environment, which makes Kaoru think back to that carriage. To him, Tamaki's devotion to the host club is the glue holding their found family together. As the trio leave to go help Class 1A, Nekozawa emerges from a coffin against the wall, offering Tamaki the Black Magic Club's help in creating some more terror. Meanwhile, Soga pulls Haruhi aside to tell her about his fears, and they, along with the twins, end up being Team B for the Halloween event. The twins tell a story about a clock tower witch who curses whoever sees her on Halloween night. Soga's terrified, of course, but the twins encourage him to join them by telling him that he might catch a glimpse of Momoka, his crush. Almost forgetting they're in a haunted house, a series of unfortunate events sends them hightailing it down the hall while they trigger more traps. Hikaru and Haruhi find themselves hanging from the floor in a dangling rope net. The host club ambushes Kaoru and Soga in scary costumes, sending them running into a room to get locked inside. Tamaki does not want Haruhi and Hikaru so close together. Fortunately, Haruhi's resourceful enough to cut them free using a handheld sewing kit.
What are you doing?
Grow up. This is the only way I can reach where I need to cut. I know it's awkward, but it'll only take a minute.
While locked in their room, Soga learns about the twins' plan to help him impress Momoka, but he likes their current friendship. After the four escape and regroup, they return to their classmates, who called off the contest and launched a search to look for them. Class 1A is then frightened by Nekozawa looming nearby, and the next day, the entire class features in the newspaper for being cowards. Well, damn. Later, Momoka learns about Soga trying to impress her, which allows their relationship to grow after all. While poor Kaoru can't help wondering where his place will be when Hikaru finds someone else to rely on. Aww. The next episode, Mori-senpai Has an Apprentice, opens at the Kasanoda Syndicate's main house. There, we meet another student of Ouran Academy, Ritsu. As he leaves for the day, he's greeted by a group of men. One of the younger men, Tetsuya, asks if Ritsu will need a car. Ritsu refuses a ride. At Ouran, the host club's cosplaying samurai. Haruhi can't believe how popular it is, but it's a cosplay classic. Renge adds fuel to the fire by giving a history lesson about samurais. Kyoya also compliments Renge for her idea to let the guests assign the host's personality for the day. His willingness to let her become the club's manager has definitely paid off. Mori's playing into the role chosen for him when he suddenly stabs his sword through the door.
Mori-senpai? Why the sudden lunge? You're not getting enough attention?
Please calm down, Mori-senpai!
Ritsu rushes into the open, looking angry, before falling to the ground at Mori's feet. He begs Mori to take him on as an apprentice because his criminal father only taught him to push people away. Tamaki's always down for a new project, so his first tip is to give Ritsu an item to make him look less scary. In Mori's case, honey serves the purpose of this prop.
Have you really been using me this entire time?
The twins then help Ritsu find a new wardrobe, but his dreadlocks, a polka dot scarf, and a freaking teddy bear do nothing to make him more approachable. The next day, Ritsu tries changing his behavior, offering to carry Mori's school bag. As he approaches, Mori saves him from a series of falling potted plants. That's not suspicious. Why doesn't this rich people school have security? Later, Haruhi serves some tea to Ritsu, who can't help thinking she's super feminine. Tetsuya arrives at Ouran to check on Ritsu, only to find him in a cat-themed maid outfit, but he's surprisingly supportive. Embarrassed anyway, Ritsu runs away, but Haruhi finds him soon enough feeding an injured bird in the garden. If he needs a prop to look less scary, then I think I found the perfect one. Ritsu can't figure out why Haruhi is so easy to talk to and comfortable to be around. Before he can ask her for a kiss though, they get rudely interrupted by a can of red paint flying their way. But not to worry, Haruhi can't go 5 feet without her security detail being close behind. Mori and Honey apprehend the criminals who believe Ritsu kidnapped the son of the Sendo Syndicate and reveal Ritsu as their target. Ritsu doesn't understand why the hosts continue to help him when he's caused so much trouble. But Mori says that they can tell who the real bad guys are by looking at them, which is incredibly moving. Tetsuya arrives and reveals that Ritsu is the missing Sendo's son, but he left home because of their cutthroat tactics. We then get a flashback of Tetsuya sitting alone in the rain before Ritsu approaches, offering him a hand and an umbrella. Cute! Ritsu then tells Tetsuya to wait for him so he can apologize to Haruhi for all the chaos. But, of course, he makes matters worse by finding her changing in the prep room. The next episode is titled, Tamaki's Unwitting Depression. I'm sorry, Tamaki's what? We can't have titles like this when we're so close to the season finale. With my nerves at an all-time high, we return to Ritsu and Haruhi locking eyes in the prep room. Ritsu eventually regains enough brain power to leave, but the other hosts wait for him outside. They plan to end his life on the spot. I don't know where the twins found that baseball bat, and I don't think I want to. You know what? I love how overprotective these boys are of Haruhi. Found family trope? Check. Haruhi tells the guys to knock it off, but the twins have to know if Ritsu's in love with Haruhi. Obviously, the answer's yes. We're 23 episodes into this anime, and if we've learned anything, it's that everyone's in love with Haruhi.
No peeking, you naughty boy.
Back home, Ritsu's followers want to know why he's in a bad mood. They know him as a punk with a bad attitude, but his crush on Haruhi changes everything. They lose their minds when they're told Haruhi's a guy. Ritsu doesn't set the record straight with his followers because he thinks the only reason anyone would hide their identity is because they're in some sort of trouble. You know, for the son of a criminal, that makes perfect sense. Ritsu returns to Ouran determined to stay in touch with Haruhi, requesting her as a guest. The twins try to get Ritsu kicked out for scaring their regulars, but Kyoya knows how much the Ouran girls live for drama. In a desperate bid, the twins throw Tamaki toward the couple, and he wedges himself between them.
Hey, if you want to sit down, do it over there. You can play with this if you need a distraction.
He blows his top when the twins tell him to imagine Haruhi as a mob wife. And I mean, can you blame him? Tamaki tells Ritsu to leave and forbids them from seeing one another. Ritsu doesn't budge though, because Tamaki isn't Haruhi's dad and can't control her life. Ritsu's just stating the obvious here, but Tamaki's gutted, guys. His soul has left his body, and when he wakes up on the floor, he finally receives clarity. He never viewed Haruhi like a family member at all, and his jealous outbursts actually point to something more. Alone, Ritsu asks to see Haruhi from time to time, and she agrees to visit. Ritsu almost declares his love, only for Haruhi to immediately put him in the friend zone.
We're going to be great friends.
Uh-oh. Hung out to dry.
Aww, we've all been there, pal. You'll get the next one. At the very least, he leaves the club with some new friends. Tamaki sympathizes with his rejection, and Kyoya makes sure to tease him for it, as best friends do. Sometime later, Tamaki tries to steal a moment alone with Haruhi, but the twins and Kyoya interrupt them. Honey and Mori spy on them from a nearby tree, and they're well aware of the messy love affair about to take place. I've actually been looking forward to this episode called And So Kyoya Met Him. In it, we finally get the origin of Kyoya joining the host club. The episode begins in Music Room 3, with guests walking in to find kotatsu tables waiting for them. If you're not familiar with kotatsu tables, they're a form of seating and dining in Japan. They're basically a low wooden table that comes with a blanket that occupants sit under to keep warm. Now, off to the side, Haruhi wants to know why someone like Kyoya would join a host club. Hearing that, Kyoya finally decides to giving a genuine answer, and it shows so much growth for his character.
Well, because it was a crazy idea. Huh?
The story takes us on a journey into the past. As Kyoya finishes his final spring in middle school, his classmates invite him to various activities like stargazing, but he doesn't care about spending time with them. What he really wants is to meet all of their influential parents. Later that night, his older sister Fuyumi judges him for using others to gain their father's approval. Kyoya insists that he'll prove himself without getting in the way of his older brothers. Fuyumi admires his ambition but wonders if it'll make him happy. But Kyoya thinks happiness isn't important in the grand scheme of things. And it's at this point I realized that he needed therapy. Kyoya talks about his older brother's successes as the family sits around the dining table, and his father, Yoshiro, tells him to befriend the new transfer student, Tamaki Suo, because it would be in the family's best interest. So Kyoya spends the night researching Tamaki, who has an easy path to inheriting his family's fortunes. The next day, Kyoya and his fellow class representative Ayame meet Tamaki. Tamaki gushes over Ayame's hair, gaining her approval before Kyoya invites him to tour the school. During the tour, Tamaki asks if Kyoya has a kotatsu at home because he's fascinated by Japanese culture. Although his home doesn't have one, Kyoya promises to put a kotatsu in if Tamaki visits. And that small gesture proves to be enough for Tamaki to make Kyoya his best friend. The next day, Tamaki wants to visit Kyoto, and although he's got the tourist locations wrong, Kyoya agrees to show him the sights. During their day out, Kyoya can't help wondering how Tamaki managed to win over their entire class. When Kyoya realizes he's not as entertaining as Tamaki might like, he makes an itinerary for visiting Hokkaido, but Tamaki reminds him that he should be studying for finals instead. That evening, Kyoya loses his cool, admitting that he wants to hit Tamaki, which pleases Fuyumi because it's the first time Kyoya shows some honest emotion. The next day, Kyoya returns home to find Tamaki stopping by for a visit, where he hears Tamaki playing piano for the first time, which moves him to tears. Later on, Tamaki broaches the topic of Kyoya's true feelings about becoming the head of the Otori family, and Kyoya admits that he's jealous of how easy Tamaki has it. Tamaki reveals that he might not become the heir to the Suo family because his grandmother hates him, but our guy doesn't care either way, and his carelessness drives Kyoya to the breaking point. Kyoya then lunges over the table and yells at Tamaki for being ungrateful. Tamaki is still chill though, and he instead challenges Kyoya to shape his future. Then we see Kyoya in a brand new light.
What is it? Hey, what's so funny?
The moment Tamaki makes Kyoya laugh, he earns himself a best friend for life. The following winter, they sit beneath a kotatsu table as Tamaki drafts plans for the host club, and Kyoya spots an upright tea leaf in his cup, a sign that luck is on their side. Speaking of luck, it's about to hit the fan and the host club declares dissolution. The episode starts with Ouran Academy preparing for their annual fair. It's an event where the students demonstrate how ready they are to take over their family's wealth and power. I'm sure everyone's feeling the weight of crushing expectations, but they've got no time to lose. Hikaru and Mori roll up in a horse-drawn carriage, with Tamaki and Honey hitching a ride in the back seat. Tamaki gets the other hosts on board to practice for the fair's parade, and it's not long before the host club opens to the general public, forcing everyone to put their skills to the test. A regular gushes about the club to her skeptical mother, and Tamaki swoops in to win her over. The fair salon looks more extravagant than usual, and although Tamaki believes there's no price on happiness, Kyoya admits they overshot their budget.
Must you always be so capricious? Your impulsiveness overwhelms my accounting skills.
Typical.
Whatever!
As the group talks, a mysterious woman watches through purple lenses, and Haruhi approaches her. At the same time, Yuzuru Suo, the chairman of Ouran Academy and Tamaki's father, enters the Ouran salon. Yuzuru's there to see Haruhi, and like us, she doesn't know what to expect. This guy's intimidating, but to everyone's surprise, he gives Haruhi a rose and refers to himself as her uncle. Well, at least we know where Tamaki gets it from. Haruhi thinks she's in the clear, and the tension eases in the room. For a good 5 seconds anyway, because a slap echoes across the room and brings the entire event to a stop. As it turns out, Yoshiro Otori greets his youngest son with a slap to the face. Okay, I'm doubling down on my Kyoya needing therapy statement. Especially after Yoshiro tells Kyoya that he's an embarrassment to their family. At least we know Yuzuru's cool because he calls Yoshiro out on his behavior, reminding him that he shouldn't take bad business deals out on his children. As Yoshiro leaves, Yuzuru catches Tamaki staring at Haruhi and reminds him that he needs to start thinking about his future. The next guest to arrive is Shizue Suo, Tamaki's grandmother. Haruhi thinks it's sweet of her to visit until Honey claims to hate her. Eh?
Please come in. Take a seat.
Don't patronize me. Filthy child.
Oh. And to make matters worse, she then tells him to escort the lady with the purple lenses for the rest of the salon. Jeez. Purple Lenses, formerly known as Lady Eclair, takes Tamaki away from his friends. Okay, so who is this random chick? Well, Eclair's the youngest daughter of the Tonere family, a family that's buying Japanese businesses in bulk. She looks definitely interested in Tamaki, who takes her on a gondola ride followed by a private piano concert. The music brings Eclair back to France, where she once sat with another woman who admired the view from the window. Unfortunately, we don't get to learn more because Haruhi has the worst timing and interrupts them. Haruhi's mad at Tamaki for leaving the host club, but Eclair says Haruhi's just jealous.
Oh, Haruhi! So is it true? Is it true? You're actually jealous?
We all know Tamaki by now, so it's no surprise that he's thrilled by the thought. And yeah, this leads Eclair to discover that Haruhi's a girl. Girl's kinda smart, I guess. Threatened by the other woman, Eclair tries to seduce Tamaki once Haruhi leaves. Back at the main event, Haruhi tells the others that Tamaki's busy entertaining Eclair. The rest of the club also call her out for sounding jealous, but Kyoya reminds her that Tamaki is only following his grandmother's orders. And for the first time, the boys decide to tell Haruhi about Tamaki's past. You see, Tamaki's grandfather died 20 years prior, forcing Yuzuru to rush into a marriage of his mother's choosing. The marriage was a flop, and when Yuzuru met this other woman called Anne-Sophie de Grantaine a few years later while on a business trip in Paris, he took her as a lover instead. Later, they also had a child. So Yuzuru finally decided to divorce his wife to marry Anne-Sophie. But his mother, of course, refuses, leaving Anne-Sophie to raise their newborn son in Paris until he's 14. When her health started to fail, Grandma offered to provide Anne-Sophie financial security if she would give custody of the child to Yuzuru. However, old enough to make the decision himself, Tamaki moves to Japan to help his mother anyway. Meanwhile, Anne-Sophie goes into hiding shortly after Tamaki leaves for Japan. The story moves Haruhi, but Kyoya reassures her that Tamaki's hardships turned him into the kind of person they know and love. The salon doors open and Tamaki enters with Eclair to share life-changing news.
As of today, Lady Eclair, Tonnerre, and I are officially engaged. Furthermore, the host club will be permanently dissolved after the Ouran fair.
Wow, that gave me literal chills. What is Tamaki's grandmother planning? The stakes have never been higher as we dive into This Is Our Ouran Fair. The episode opens on a shot of Kotoko Fujioka's shrine as her family has breakfast at the table. Ranka wants to know why Haruhi's not eating, but she just smiles through the pain. During the second day of the Ouran Academy Fair, Kyoya serves Eclair tea in the central salon. The mean-ass woman comments on Kyoya's low status in his family, but he politely asks if she needs anything else, only for her to ask about Haruhi's debt. Jeez. Kyoya then calls for Haruhi, who joins Eclair at the table. Eclair admits that Tamaki has a soft spot for Haruhi, and in the most brutal move ever, Haruhi asks,
Just what are you getting at? Are you saying you're jealous of me?
Damn! And Eclair bans Tamaki from returning to the host club. The hosts struggle to keep their spirits up during the fair, but Kyoya reminds them that their guests should be their top priority. As the remaining hosts get back to work, Kyoya returns to Haruhi, who sits alone. He thanks her for everything she's done for the host club and releases her from her duties. I'm feeling so many emotions based on this single interaction, and so is Haruhi. So naturally, Yoshiro picks the worst time to come bash his son.
How can you possibly say that what we do here is just a waste of our time? I think Kyoya-senpai is amazing.
I don't think anyone else would have the nerve to stand up to him. In Yuzuru Suo's office, Yuzuru discusses the Tonnerre's aggressive tactic of buying out Japanese companies with his mother, and Granny claims it won't matter once their family has an heir, as she's convinced Tamaki to marry Lady Eclair and show an interest in the family business by promising to let him see his mother. In a new location, we find Tamaki playing the piano for Eclair, who emerges from a shower and attempts to seduce him again, only for him to remain emotionless until he gets a call from Haruhi. Eclair throws his phone into the fish tank, insisting that speaking to his friends will only make it harder to leave. And Yoshiro interrupts them because he found out that the Eclairs are planning to buy Otori Medical out from under him. Overhearing this, Tamaki realizes his engagement to Eclair is entirely political for her. Back at Ouran, the rest of the club prepares for the parade by dressing in 18th century French cosplay. Unable to reach Tamaki, Kyoya calls his estate, where the staff tells him that Tamaki's headed to France with Eclair, and he insists that staying would only cause more trouble for everyone else. Kyoya then spots Tamaki leaving from the window and leads the host club to the parking garage. I love this. Usually it's Tamaki staging the rescue missions, but it's nice to see Kyoya taking the lead for once. The Black Onion Squad lies in wait, but Mori and Honey plow through them with the club's horse and carriage. They stay behind to fight the police, but give the carriage to the other hosts for an epic car chase. Hikaru immediately crashes the carriage. As if that's not bad enough, he also breaks his arm. As Kaoru helps his brother, Haruhi has a flashback of herself right after her mother died, when Ranka told her that sometimes things can't be helped, but they still have to take action when they can. So she removes her parade costume and takes the reins. In their car, Tamaki wonders if Eclair can love someone she's only marrying to make her family happy. But before she can answer, Haruhi catches up to them. Haruhi begs Tamaki to come back to the host club, even though he believes they would be better off without him. He can't be serious, right? Haruhi's definitely not giving up. She reaches out for Tamaki but loses control of the carriage. Eclair tries to stop Tamaki from saving her, but come on, there's no denying how much of a simp he is for Haruhi. Tamaki leaps from the car to catch Haruhi before they hit the ocean below. Their friends wait for them as Tamaki carries her back to the shore. Eclair watches them from the bridge before driving on, recalling her housekeeper who used to tell her about her sweet piano-playing son. Damn. As Ouran's events come to a close, Haruhi dances with each member of the host club. At the same time, Yoshido visits Yuzuru's office, reporting that the Grand Tonore's business takeover went belly up when a student investor, Kyoya, bought the business first and gave it back to Yoshido. He admits that his son from a year ago might have stolen the family business out from under him, but working with Tamaki has taught Kyoya more maturity and wisdom than he realized. The two businessmen then talk about becoming friends like their sons until they both claim Haruhi as their future daughter-in-law.
I think that she would make a wonderful bride for my Kyoya in the future.
The final scenes of the season show Haruhi dancing with each of her fellow hosts before they come together to watch a breathtaking fireworks display. Then, the doors of Music Room 3 open to show us the host club, who thank us for joining them on this crazy adventure. And there we have it. The entire story of Ouran High School Host Club. Few anime have achieved the perfect slow burn, but Haruhi and Tamaki have to be at the top of the list. They have everything a rom-com enjoyer might want, from drama to those classic miscommunication tropes. Most of all, it's just good fun. And I gotta say, I really enjoyed watching this. Let us know what you thought of Haruhi and the host club in the comments below. Have a good day, and as always, thanks for watching.